Hi everyone, it's Matt from The Pen Habit. Glad to be back for another video and glad you have joined me for another video as well. Today we are going to be delving back into the world of Japanese pens with another pen from the manufacturer Sailor. Now, I did a review of the Sailor Pro Gear a little while back. The Sailor pens have been recommended to me several times, especially by a couple of longtime viewers. Alex, I'm talking to you, who have said, get a Sailor, you're going to love the nib. I really liked the Sailor Pro Gear that I reviewed that one of my viewers, Rob, sent me. So I decided to get one of my own. This time I went with a 1911 Large, which is your standard cigar-shaped pen in black with rhodium trim, which I've talked about before is not my favorite thing in the world, especially since I have so many of them. But for the most part, it's a really nice pen. So let me show you what the packaging is all about. So comes with the cardboard sleeve, which I've taken off already, and then the blue clamshell case here. Open it up. There's no pen because I've taken it out and inked it up already, but the pen comes wrapped in this little plastic sleeve, comes with a couple of Sailor ink cartridges and the Sailor warranty instruction booklet, etc., etc. The bottom does come out. I suppose they should have put this stuff down underneath the bottom, but they didn't, at least not on my pen. Now, this pen was purchased on eBay. I did not buy it through a U.S. retailer. I bought it from Japan, got a pretty smoking deal on it. But just be aware, if you go that route, you are not necessarily getting a warranted pen. So if you get a pen that isn't great and you're not comfortable working on it or fixing it, that can be a little bit of a problem, because then you either have to try to ship it back to Japan and wait who knows how long to get a response, or you have to pay to have the work done yourself. So this is the pen in question. So as I mentioned, it is a fairly standard looking, understated cigar-shaped pen. Kind of start at the top, very glossy black resin. We've got rhodium plated band in the cap and a clip. And the Sailor clips do have this kind of little swoop to the shoulder of the clip there. Comes down. The center band says Sailor, Japan, founded 1911. Tapers toward the end. Got a nice, another rhodium plated band down there and the end of the cap. The threads on the pen are quite wonderfully made, so that is very good and to be expected, hopefully. And then we pull it out and we've got the nib. Now, this nib is like the nib on the Pro Gear that I got, also a 21 karat nib. It seems as though many, not all, but many of the modern Sailor nibs are 21 karat, which is nice. It does give just a bit more bounce to the nib, but it's still not, this is not a flex nib. This particular nib is a hard medium fine. So it's in between medium and fine, and it is a rigid nib. That's the design of the nib. So this particular nib doesn't have a lot of bounce, but there is a bit more in there than you might see in a steel nib, for instance. Nice design on the nib. It is a cartridge converter pen. Again, the threads are very nice here, even though you're meshing an acrylic barrel to metal threads. And it uses a Sailor proprietary cartridge. In terms of the fit in the hand, though, it's actually fairly comfortable to fit in the hand unposted, for me anyway. It can be posted, however, and it doesn't feel too terribly long when posted, so it's fairly comfortable to use when posted, although I don't. Okay, let's talk the stats of the pen. We are looking at 140 millimeters with the pen capped like this, 123 when it's not, and when posted, a reasonable 155. The grip on the section, in the middle of the section, is 11.5 millimeters, so it's just a little bit wider than what I consider kind of the average grip, but it's still not bad. Widest part of the barrel, down here, you're looking at about 13.5 millimeters, and the widest part of the cap, which I have this metal band here, is 16.1 millimeters. It is 18 grams uncapped and 26 grams when capped, so it's not a super lightweight pen, but it's also not terribly heavy. And so that is the overview of the pen. Now, just to give you a bit of a size comparison, this is the large pen. So here's the 1911 large. Here is the Platinum 3776 Century. So you can see it's about the same length, but just not quite as tapered at the ends. Roll this around. And then for comparison with some other well-known pens, we have a Mont Blanc 149, which is significantly larger and wider, a Pelican M805, a TWSBI 580, and a Jinhao X450. So it's very similar in size to the Jinhao, much lighter than the Jinhao, and very similar in size to the Platinum. But obviously, if you compare it to the Mont Blanc, it's quite a bit shorter. So let's do a little bit of writing, shall we? All right, we've got the Sailor 1911 large, and this has a 21 karat gold nib, and this is a hard medium fine nib. The ink is also from Sailor. Sometimes I forget how to form my letters. And this is Sailor Gentle Apricot or Apricot, depending on how you pronounce it. I think, is it the South here in the U.S. that calls it out? I don't remember. I don't like them very much, so it doesn't really matter to me either way. This is unfortunately discontinued. Can't get it anymore, which is, there are a few places that still have it. I think Anderson Pens, last time I checked, they still have a few bottles left, although that may be gone by the time the DC Pen Show is over. It's going this weekend in 2014. Anyway, let's do our quote. All right, Mr. Abraham Lincoln. So as you can see, this nib is very, very fine. It's much finer. I think this is probably the finest nib I own. I think the next closest fine would be my Platinum 3776, which is a Japanese medium, which is equivalent to like just this a little bit less than most Western fines. As a half medium, half fine, this is far finer than I like in my fountain pens. I don't care for this because I like the buttery smoothness of a wider nib. Now, that's not to say that this is bad. It's good for me to have a couple of finer nibs if I'm ever working on garbage paper or need a finer nib for some reason or the other. It's really quite a nice starter, and there's good solid ink flow for such a fine nib. Now, you won't see a lot of characteristics of the ink in here with this nib because there's just not enough ink going through the nib to really make it shade that much, or you're not going to get much sheen. However, this nib is a little toothier than I like. It was actually, when I got it, pretty out of alignment. It doesn't take much to be out of alignment when you've got such a fine point on your pen. That's the other reason I don't like the super fine point so much, is because they're a lot more finicky, and a little tiny bit of alignment issue translates into a fairly significant feel of misalignment on the paper. So I've largely gotten the alignment back in place, not completely. I still need to work on it some more, and I'm going to try to smooth it a little bit more because it's a little scratchier than I like. But the ink flow is good, so I can't complain about it too much. In terms of the line variation. You can see you can actually coax a decent bit of line variation out of it. But you have to press pretty hard to do it because this is a nib, and I don't want to spring the nib, so I would not often try to do that. You can also, it's an even finer line if you write upside down. It's actually just about the same feel writing upside down as it is writing right side up. Just a bit scratchier on the horizontals, but on the verticals, it's nicer. So yeah, this is a decent little pen. It's not terribly interesting to look at. It's not terribly exciting to write with, and it's scratchy. I wanted to try a finer nib because I know there are a lot of people out there who really, really like these super fine nibs. I've never been drawn to them because I like I like to be able to see the characteristics of my ink when I write, which you can't really do with these finer nibs. But I know that there are a lot of people out there that like them. I don't really get it. I understand it when people want to use them or have to use them because of their writing situation or because their handwriting is minuscule. But people who actually like the feel of writing with these, I don't get it. But in any case, it's a good writer. If I had to do it over again, I would probably order it in a medium at the very narrowest, or probably a broad, which is, I think, what I would. The next time I get a Sailor pen, that's probably where I'm going to go. But other than that, it's a nice pen. You know, it's a well-made pen. It's nice, classic, understated look. There's really nothing wrong with it. There's just nothing about it that really says, this is exciting to me. So if you're looking for a classic, understated pen, I think this will be what you're looking for. All right. Well, if you have any questions or comments, or you have your own experiences with Sailor's pens and nibs, or you want to explain why in the world people are so gaga over extra fine nibs, you could do so in the comments below. I appreciate your thoughts and your comments, so long as you keep it civil. And if you have any questions, you can also email me at penhabit@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head over to the Penhabit blog to see the additional photos that I didn't get cut into the video. And we'll see you here next time on the Pen Habit.